Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hi-Fi Preschooling Kids weekly training podcast. We are so excited that you are joining us for week 3 of the month of June. This week, we are going to continue talking about how we are made special by God. We are uniquely designed, and two people who are uniquely designed are joining me today. We have Crystal Mazuka, Rachel Raquelme. I hope that you both are doing fantastic. I'm so glad you are here. Well, to kick off this podcast, I want to ask you a question, okay? I want to ask you a question. This week, we are going to be talking about how God made me talented. So if you were going to go on a talent show of any kind, what would you do?
Listen, I am not a singer. Let me say that first off. I don't think you could even, as much as I love like karaoke. If I was doing a
And
talent show,
Crystal loves
I
karaoke.
do. I do. If I was doing a talent show, first off, I think a great talent that I have is like anybody can talk about anything and I can connect it either to a song lyric or a line from a TV show or a movie. So it could be like a real challenge. Somebody could say something and I'd be like, oh, that reminds me of da 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 da. But I really think what I would love to do is get some great, fun 90s music and choreograph like a whole kind of lip syncy dance to it. I had an hour-long dance party in my living room yesterday, all to some 90s jams. And I really think that I could have a ton of fun. I wouldn't want to do it by myself, but I would recruit some people, and I just think that that could be really fun.
Crystal, you would be so good at that. I would come watch.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
would.
I would
You'd know,
too.
Isaac, you would be up there dancing with me. So,
I want to be one of your background dancers. That's really where I want to be. Yes. All right, Rachel, what about you?
Okay, so if I need to reword the question because if there was going to be a talent show, what would I do? I would help organize the talent show. I think that's where my talents lie.
Rachel, you as a stage manager for a talent show would be absolutely fantastic. I
mm-hmm,
love that. I
mm-hmm.
love that. Very nice. Well, actually, so in high school there was a talent show, and I was like, I don't feel like my talents like fit on stage. Like, can't go play disc golf on stage. Like, you can't be like, I'm gonna jump really high. That's not a great talent that people want to see. So I actually hosted the talent show in high school, and
Yeah.
that
I
was
can
one of
see
my
that.
favorite high school memories right there. Was just hosting the talent show and just like being able to celebrate everybody else. Very
That's pretty fun.
nice. Yes. So, as we talk about how God made me talented, and not just me, He's created everyone to be talented, we're going to be looking at a surprising, possibly, story from the book of Exodus. And you're like, Exodus 31, how does that talk about talents? Well, let me tell you. This week, we are telling the story of how God chose, and bear with me, here we go, Bezalel and Oholiab. Okay,
There we
I
go.
would
Good job,
very
Isaac.
much
Good job.
suggest to practice saying those before Sunday, before church this week. So, as we look at how God gave these two men their gifts and talents, why is this an important truth for preschoolers and kids to learn?
Yeah, I think this is a really important story for kids and preschoolers to learn because God has given all of us gifts and talents to use. And I think when you think about being a craftsman or someone who works with gold or silver or bronze, wood, you don't automatically think, well, how could God use this? But we see in our Bible story that God used it for his glory to build up the
hmm
tabernacle. And it's so incredible to see how these very specific talents and skills could be used for God's glory, not just in the moment, but in future generation or for future generations to know him as well. And so it's such a neat story to teach them to say, God's made you talented too. Maybe you're not going to sing in the talent show. Maybe you, instead, like me, can organize the talent show, or you are a great person to be the host of the talent show, or maybe your gift is connecting with people and you can invite people in or encourage people to perform in the talent show. And so I think it's such a neat way that we can see the variety of talents God gives us and how he can
Mm.
specifically use them now and in the future for the kingdom of God.
And if I can just add one other thing that I think is so great about us doing this Bible story, like I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid in church, I never heard this story. This isn't anything I learned until I was like reading the Bible for myself as an adult. So often there's so much focus on Moses when we talk about Exodus. Moses is this great leader, Moses who, loved God with everything. Nobody's ever been like Moses. Moses was obviously very, very talented. And it's really great that we get to highlight other people at that time who are talented and that God said, I have given you these talents for a reason. I just think it's a really cool and unique story.
I agree. And I love how you said that about focusing on someone besides Moses, because I mean, he was that loud leader kind of. He was the leader that was out in front. He was the person that was
Hmm.
going before Pharaoh, but it was God who chose these men. It was God who chose these people because of their talents, because of what they were able to do, because of their skills that he had given them, and they were able to glorify God in an amazing way through these talents. Okay, so Crystal, as we talk about how God made us talented, how can we help preschoolers and kids identify the ways that God has made them talented in ways that lead to spiritual formation, not just building confidence and self esteem?
It's a tricky line to walk, I feel like. And to be honest, we do this a lot with Hi-Fi as we teach these truths about who we are. The focus really isn't just on us, it's on God. It's on who God is. And so I think it's important as we help preschoolers and kids recognize the talents that God has given them. And these talents can range from all kinds of things because we want to say anything that you are talented in is not just for you. It's not for building up yourself. It's not for making money. It's not just for trying to get recognition and fame. God made you talented for Him. These
Hmm.
men in our Bible study were skilled craftsmen, and God said, you are going to use those skills to build the tabernacle. And so we get to help preschoolers and kids recognize what their talents are. Maybe you're a really good singer, or maybe you're like Rachel and you're really good at organizing things. Whatever the talents are that you have, God has given you those so you can follow Him, so you can point others to Him. If you love singing, maybe you want to be a worship leader someday. Or maybe you want to write music and help produce music that you have an opportunity to talk to people about Jesus. If you are really, really smart, maybe God's going to use your smarts to help other people learn. And as you help them learn, you get to point them to Jesus. And so, really, just helping them not just recognize the incredible ways that God has given them talents, but knowing that those talents were given to them for a reason and for a purpose. And for any preschooler or kid who would say, I don't have any talents, how great is it that we get to sit with them and say, let's talk about the things that you really like. Let's talk about the things that you're good at. Let's talk about even the things that you can become good at. Sometimes we think that we're not talented because we're not good at something right away, but actually, the more we practice it and the more we work at it, the more we realize, wow, I really am talented in this. Okay, now let's talk about how can you use those talents to glorify God.
Crystal, that is so true. And I love that element of glorifying God with the talents that He has given us. These all come from Him. So, with that, I want to ask, what are ways that we can help preschoolers and kids use those God given talents, use those things to glorify Him right now?
I think there are so many ways we can help preschoolers and kids use their God given talents right now. And I think one of the best ways is to invite them into what we're doing, to
Mm,
invite them in to help lead in our classrooms and in our small groups, to invite them in to when we're serving in our church. from making copies to cutting paper to
Hmm.
greeting people at the door. There's so many ways that they can be a part of serving and using their talents in the church. And I think there may even be talents they don't even know they have until they're
Hmm.
serving and working and participating in the work of the church. And then they discover them, or they grow in them like a muscle, being exercised. It's something that they maybe enjoyed doing, but didn't quite see it as a talent until they begin to use it. So I think bringing them in, getting them involved, and helping them participate in the work is a really good way to help them use their talents.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more I could add to that. I think one thing that's great too is that as we recognize talents that God has given the preschoolers and kids in our ministries, if we don't see an opportunity for them to use those talents, we make the opportunity. So Rachel, you keep bringing up the organizing thing because I just love that. Like if you've got a kid who just really enjoys some of that behind the scenes stuff, find a way to invite them in. If you are planning a big event, a big family event, invite that kid and maybe whoever else is in the family to say, "Hey, I'm going to have a planning meeting, and I have noticed that you really like making some of these decisions. Would you want to come and be a part of this planning meeting?"
Mm.
Just continuing to make ways. We had a church cleanup day the other day, and what was so cool was to see preschoolers out pulling weeds. And these were two boys who love to be outside. They love to be in the dirt. They love to be in the sunshine, which I'm in Washington State. It was amazing. We had a sunny day in this time of year. And so but like they were using their talents right then and there. We're talking 3 years old, and they're out there pulling weeds, but they're participating and they're serving. And so I think as we help them identify these talents, if we don't see an obvious way that they could use it on a Sunday, helping us out with team time or preparing crafts or whatever, that we make places where they are able to really use and express those talents right now. It's not something that you have to wait until you're a teenager or an adult to do. God can use your talents right now.
100% agree. And I think I love how you highlighted that it's sometimes pulling weeds can be a talent that God has given you to serve him. It's not always the one who's preaching on the from the front stage on a Sunday morning.
Hmm.
It's not the person who's leading worship. It's not the person who is teaching small group. I've had people in my ministry who honestly would say, "You know what? Kids are probably not what I love to do." But like Rachel, I am great at administration, and they were some of the best like service coaches. They helped me be sure that volunteers were there on time. They were great communicators, so they were great to help me during the week to communicate. Maybe they were the ones that they're like, you know what, I like to be by myself, but I love to make crafts, and they were
Mm,
so great at helping prep crafts and prep things during the week. So there are
hmm.
so many gifts, so many talents that God has given so many people, and a lot of times in the church, we highlight certain ones, but be open. So this week, challenge for you. We don't normally have a challenge, but I want to give a challenge. I want you to play a little bit of a game of I Spy the
Mm,
talent. Try to find that talent this week of how you can get them plugged in, not just because you want them plugged in your ministry because you need a hole to fill, but you want to plug them into a ministry so that they can live out the talents that God has given them. So that is my challenge for you this week. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Hi-Fi Training Podcast. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week and a wonderful time as you continue to teach kids that they are unique and special to God. We'll talk to you later. Bye.